All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you all are having a good night, and welcome to another Minecraft After Dark episode here. As promised, we are going to cover some Brandon Roy. Very short-lived prime, but wow. Did I think he was going to be one of the top players of all time? Abso-freaking-lutely I did. And I think he was on pace to do so. But we're going to find out what happened. For those of you who don't know about Brandon Roy, this will be a good opportunity to learn about him and what happened and why we shouldn't forget about this dude. As always, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description if you want to watch this without me. This is Andy Hoop's video called The Tragic Downfall of NBA Superstar Brandon Roy. So you can go watch it without me if you like. For everybody else who want to come along with the ride here and watch this together, please leave the video a like. It'll really help me. I'd really appreciate it. It would get it out there so we can get the story of him and earlier today Derrick Rose out to the public. All right, here we go.
In 2010, Kobe was asked who was tougher to guard, Kevin Durant or Brandon Roy. Kobe responded with, Roy, 365 days, 7 days a week. Roy has no weaknesses in his game.
Yeah.
The Portland Trail Blazers are the unluckiest franchise in NBA history. Ever since they were established in 1970, they've had a ridiculous amount of bad luck. And yeah, I do know they won a championship in 1977, which is something that many other teams do not have. But even so,
that was Bill Walton, right?
So when you take into account all the injuries, all the potential players they passed up in the drafts, all their high picks that turned in.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, they could have had Michael Jordan. Same way I feel about the fact that my Phoenix Suns could have had Luka Doncic. That's how they felt. Whoops.
The busts. No other NBA franchise comes close to the Blazers in terms of bad luck. In the late 1970s, they saw Bill Walton's career go downhill after suffering a broken foot, as he never successfully recovered. In 1984, they drafted Sam Bowie, an extremely talented big man out of Kentucky, but his career would also get ruined by leg injuries. To rub salt on their wounds, the guy picked right after him was none other than Michael Jordan.
Yep.
In the 90s, up until the early 2000s, they reached the finals and conference finals multiple times, but they would always lose to better teams.
Well, and then they got to the finals and lost to the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, so you know that hurt. Same way it hurt, you know, the other year when Luka literally torched my Suns and we got eliminated from the playoffs. It's payback, dude.
And despite all their talent, the Jailblazers era was marred with disappointment and also damaged the team's image.
Yeah, did. Damon Stoudemire. Wow. You guys remember Dame, man? The original Dame?
2007, with the #1 pick, they drafted another big man, Greg Oden, who suffered similar injuries.
Yep.
And right after him was Kevin Durant. And of course, the injuries did not stop there. How's it going, fellas? My name's Andy, and today we're going to take a look at Brandon Roy, the 6th overall pick by the Blazers in 2006. By the young age of 25, he was a 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-NBA, one of the best scorers in the league. Many players around the NBA said that Roy was the toughest player they had to guard. So what happened to him? Well, let's start off with the 2006 NBA draft. In general, it was a pretty bad draft class. I mean, just look at all the players drafted ahead of him. LaMarcus Aldridge, who was coincidentally his teammate, is the only one who reached his potential. Sheldon Williams, Tyrese Thomas, Adam Morrison, and
Adam Morrison. He was one of the best college players of all time. He did not do so well in the NBA. I was sad. I didn't know Brandon Roy in college, but I sure as hell knew Adam Morrison, and I expected a lot. Man, he was being compared to Larry Bird and all kinds of crazy crap.
And Andrea Bargnani, they all had very underwhelming careers. They also started off their careers very slow, and all of them needed time to develop if they did develop. However, Brandon Roy did not need that.
Yeah.
Right when he stepped onto the NBA court, he made an immediate impact on the team. In his rookie season, Roy averaged nearly 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. He shot 38% from 3 and also shot 44% from mid-range distance between 10 feet and the three-point line, which was
really
very
good.
impressive.
That's very good.
As a rookie, he was already one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire league.
Yep.
Additionally, he also looked like a complete player. Part of it has to do with the fact that he spent 4 years in college, and just like Kobe said, there were no weaknesses in Roy's game. Even as a rookie, his game was incredibly polished. A lot of young players nowadays struggle with their jump shot or their playmaking skills or attacking the baskets, but Roy had everything from the get-go. As a result of this great rookie season, he took home Rookie of the Year in a landslide.
You know, a little side bit. I miss when players used to actually complete college before they came into the NBA. They came in as men. You know, now we got these kids coming in fresh out of high school. It's not the same. Like, they never got that chance to truly develop mentally, emotionally, and actually continue to develop their game. I think it's like it was the worst thing that ever happened for LeBron James, if I'm being completely real, because he never really worked on his weaknesses. Like, to this day, he still has major holes in his game that he's like a bigger, buffer version of the LeBron James that was an 18-year-old kid being drafted. But guys like Brandon Roy or like Michael Jordan back in the day, like, or Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, they came into the NBA ready. They were fully developed, ready to go. You know, LeBron still made a splash, but I see major holes in his game. Kobe did too, to be fair. You know, he was a skinny little kid when he was 18. Kevin Garnett, he struggled for the first year or so as well. But the difference is they had the mindset of, I'm going to keep getting better and better and better. So they eventually got there, and they became two of the greatest of all time.
Over the next few years, Roy continued to improve, and so did the rest of the team. From 2008 to 2010, he averaged about 21, 5-5, leading his team to multiple 50-win seasons. There was no other guard in the league who was as fundamentally sound as Brandon Roy. The way he played the game was so smooth, he scored so effortlessly, made everything look so easy.
Yeah, just because they're showing it. When he played against the Run and Gun Suns, he torched us. Like, Run and Gun was perfect for his style. He was so quick.
This earned him the nickname The Natural. Unfortunately, the Blazers were not able to get out of the first round for a couple of different reasons. First, the Western Conference was crazy. There were so many teams that won over 50 games that they had a hard time.
Look at this. Look at Yao with the chase down.
Conference was crazy. There were so many teams that won over 50 games that they had a hard time standing out among the others. Secondly, despite Roy averaging nearly 27 points per game in the 2009 playoffs, it was only him and LaMarcus Aldridge putting in work. The rest of the team was pretty bad. If you go back and just look at that roster, you wonder how in the world that this team won 54 games in the West. But the
Channing Frye was in there, yeah. Greg Oden. Greg Oden, what did you produce? 8 points, 9 points. Total rebound, 7. Yeah, Greg Oden was a sad story. He got drafted right before Kevin Durant, but injuries overtook him immediately.
Truth is, Roy was that good. Even if his numbers don't look crazy, he created so much space for his teammates by drawing double teams.
Oh, yeah.
And the third reason is because, well, in April of 2010, Roy discovered that he had a bone contusion in his right knee. The playoffs were about to start, and it didn't seem like a big deal at first, but it was later found out that he tore his meniscus. Now, Roy has had a history of knee problems. Even a couple years prior, he got some loose cartilage removed from his left knee, and in college at Washington, he's occasionally had some discomfort in his knees. What's even worse is that about 1 week after getting surgery to repair his meniscus, he played in the playoffs. In the first round, they were playing the Phoenix Suns, and Roy came back in Game 4 and played out the rest of the series. However, he did not look healthy at all. Even disregarding his terrible numbers, it was clear that something was bothering him on the court.
Well, yeah, what did he say, 1 week after the surgery? No bueno.
The Blazers actually got a lot of flack for letting him play the series just 1 week after the surgery because it's way too soon. And some believe that Roy coming back this soon ruined his career.
That's great. I forgot about that part. He should not have been cleared. Wow.
According to John Hollinger of ESPN, he wrote, "Despite the outcome of winning Game 4, the Blazers were savaged by critics on national TV for putting Roy's long-term health at risk. The superstar guard has a 5-year contract extension for the maximum that kicks in after the season. And the argument goes that Portland should have thought much harder about the viability of his long-term investment, especially given the team's limited at-best chances of winning a championship this season."
100%.
However, Roy continued to insist that he felt completely fine. He said, "I stressed to the doctor, it feels just like it did before the surgery." It was also reported that the key determinant, according to a Blazers insider, was that trainers and medical staff determined that Roy could do no further damage to the knee by playing.
Really?
So, in theory, he should have been fine. Unfortunately, he was not fine. This would be the beginning of the end for Brandon Roy. The Blazers would lose the series in 6 games, and a few months later, Roy started to feel more pain in his knees. It was getting really bad, to the point where most people speculated that he would never return back to form. But for a short period of time, he was silencing his doubters. He started off the 2010-11 season very strong, but over time he slowly regressed and the pain in his knees would continue to get worse. By January, he felt so much pain that he had to get arthroscopic surgery on both knees.
That makes sense because he's weight shifting off his bad knee to his good knee. I only know about this stuff because I had a torn meniscus. I tore it probably like 3 years ago, and then I had to live with it for about a year. I was working on my feet, 12-hour, 13-hour shifts. I didn't have a choice, though. You know what I mean? I didn't have a choice to get a surgery and miss work. It was not possible, not going to happen. So I just had to keep going. And the alternative for me was to get what the hell is it called? I can't remember the actual term, but it's basically it was plasma. So we would take blood from a healthy part of my body, spin it to get all the plasma out, and inject it into my knee. And I would get that done once a week on my day off. And yeah, the doctors were stressing to me, like, you're not going to recover. Like, your knee's not going to be able to repair itself if you keep doing what you're doing every single day at work. You know, but I explained to them, I don't have a choice. So at the least, let's get this plasma in me, you know, and hopefully if I try to rest a little here and a little bit there, it'll repair. But to be fair, I went a year like that, and it never actually repaired until I had an opportunity later on. It was about a year later that I got an opportunity to actually rest it. So I got to rest it for a couple of weeks, and then it repaired itself, and then I started strengthening it. But I'll tell you what, that whole year, I was weight shifting off to my right knee the entire time, and my right knee started hurting. So I was going, oh crap, like if I don't be careful here, I'm going to end up with 2 bad knees. And look what happened to Brandon Roy, which is messed up, man. Because in this job, as an NBA player, dude, you got an injury like that, it's time to sit out. Go rest, recover, come back next season. They really screwed up letting him play.
He ended the season averaging a career-low 12 points a game on his lowest efficiency. Although it was looking really bad, he did have a brief moment of brilliance. In the 2011 playoffs in Game 4 against the Dallas Mavericks, the Blazers were down by 23 points, but came all the way back in the fourth quarter to win the game, and tie the series at 2 games apiece. Roy led the way with 24 points,
nice.
And we saw flashes of the great player he once was. However, the Blazers would still lose in 6, and this would be the last memorable moment of Brandon Roy's career. Although he had a brief surge, he could not maintain this level of play. Before the next season started, Roy issued a public announcement, saying that he was going to retire. He said, "This is a very difficult and painful day. I love the game, I love the Portland Trail Blazers, and I love our fans, but after consulting with my doctors, I will seek a determination that I've suffered a career-ending injury."
Damn.
Apparently, Roy had degenerative arthritis in his knees. That basically means that the cartilage in his knees slowly eroded away, and there's nothing he could do about it. He had no cartilage left, and the bones in his knees were touching. In fact, if he continued to play basketball and reached stage 4 of this condition, he would probably have to get both of his knees replaced. Despite all of this, all of the risks, he still wanted to play for the love of the game. So he joined Kevin Love. About 1 year after he announced his retirement, he started to practice and train again to make a comeback. Eventually, he came out of retirement in 2012 and the Minnesota Timberwolves signed him to a contract. Unfortunately, there was no happy ending to Roy's story. In the preseason, he collided with another player and suffered another knee injury, causing him to get season-ending surgery again.
Oof, I don't even remember this. Damn, this makes it even worse.
After just playing 5 games in the regular season. That was the final nail in the coffin. You know, you could say that, well, he made over $80 million in his NBA career. How could it possibly be a sad ending? For most players, basketball is their life and their passion, and for Roy, it was devastating that his career ended this way. And that's all, folks. That sums up the story of Brandon Roy. In a long list of Portland Trailblazer misfortunes, Roy is often forgotten. The Blazers trio of Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history.
Yeah.
They only played a combined 62 games together, but in those games they went 50-12.
Jeez.
That's amazing, but also upsetting because we never saw this big three develop together. Roy meant so much to the franchise. He came in during a time when the team was desperately trying to get rid of the reputation left behind by the Jailblazers era. That's perhaps the biggest thing he doesn't get credit for. The Blazers were in a terrible position before Roy got there. The franchise was in shambles with a ton of players like Ruben Patterson, Sebastian Telfair, Bonzi Wells, and a young Zach Randolph getting into trouble frequently off the court. Former owner Paul Allen even considered selling the team. That's how bad their image was. Roy turned the entire franchise around, or at least he started the process. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time.
That was a really cool video. Yeah, I gotta say, while he was healthy, he was one of my favorite players in the league. I mean, he was like top 5 favorite players in the league. He was exciting to watch. I loved it, except for when he was playing against my Suns. But even though like I'd be cursing at him, I couldn't help but just admire his game. So smooth, so fast. He could penetrate, drive it in. He could shoot the 3. He had a post game, a mid-range pull-up, a floater. You freaking name it, Brandon Roy had it. And like what's his video for? Like Andy from Andy Hoops put it. Like he came into the league with that. Like rookie season, he had his entire bag established already. But all right, everybody. I guess we're gonna leave off with that tonight. Leave the video a like if you haven't yet. I'd really appreciate it. Unless you thought the video sucked, and leave it a downvote. But yeah, let's share some stories about Brandon Roy. Did you guys get to see him play in his prime? What'd you think? Did you think like I did, like he was going to be one of the greatest that we've ever seen? I'm not saying like top 5, but I mean like I sincerely thought like he'd probably be in like top 20 someday. But before you knew it, it ended. Just like we saw earlier today, just like Derrick Rose. I thought we were looking at one of the greatest to ever play the game. And for a short period of time, we were. It just didn't last long. So I'm trying to appreciate some players right now in the current game. Jokic is one of them. Luka is another one of them. Ant-Man, I'm watching him closely. And there's some others, even like Booker, even though he's kind of let me down. I'm appreciating watching him while I can, because injury could take these guys away at any given point. So might as well appreciate them while they're here. All right, everybody, I'm gonna leave off with that. Y'all have a wonderful night. Be safe, have fun, be good to your people. Tell your loved ones you love them, and try to avoid injury, huh? Because this was a dark day of injury-related content. We'll be back to the regular stuff tomorrow. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow morning, and before then, I'll see you all in the comments. All right, have a good night.